plants, fungi, vegetation, anything green growing in the wild. The feeling of running your hand among a grassy field is inherently calming, but this beautiful display of nature isn't to be underestimated when put in distress. The grass type is all around. Hey guys, it is Elogee. I'm joined by Pockety90.
It's Poketime90.
And we are here for day 11 of the 12 days of Pokemon types. And as you can see by the title and the intro, today we'll be going over the grass type. So, Pokety, what is your favorite grass type Pokemon?
This was very, very difficult. There are a lot of grass types that I really like, but my favorite grass type is Chestnut. It was very, very tough, but that was the one mon. That was the first mon that, like, when they announced the starter forms, I was all about Chespin. I supported it. I bought a t-shirt and a plushie for it. I went to the midnight release, like X and Y, though not my favorite game, was like the game I was most into, if that makes any sense. And Chestnut's just so cool. You know, it had a signature move until that move was given to other things. That was really cool. You know, it's that kind of like knight, which is not my, like, not that I'm very much into those traditional RPG things, but yeah, I mean, Chestnut's just really, really cool. I got a shiny one back in the XY era that was pretty good. I was breeding mons, so it had good IVs. It didn't have the perfect nature, but it had like usable IVs for competitive. So I ended up training that too, and that was really cool too. And so yeah, I have nothing bad to say about Chestnut. What do you think about Chestnut?
It's cool too. My second favorite among the Gen 6 starters. I prefer Delphox, but Chestnut is very cool too. I have not used it in game because I only played through Gen 6 twice. Used Delphox and Greninja, so I'll have to get around to using Chestnut in game. But the times I've used it competitively, it's done well for me. It's a nice fighting type. It's got, like you said, spiky shield, spikes. It's just nice having a bulky grass type that also fighting type. A bit susceptible to flying and fire and stuff, but overall, a very, very solid Pokemon that I wasn't really expecting to be your favorite, but you mentioning your whole Team Chespin thing, it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, I definitely see why it is your favorite.
All right, well, who is your favorite of the grass type Pokemon?
Like you, I also had a huge list because there are a lot of grass type Pokemon and I like a lot of them. However, I also ended up deciding on a starter, that being the original Venusaur, good old Venusaur. It was the starter I picked most of the time back in my Gen 1 playthroughs. If you guys don't know your Pokety and Elogee lore, like, we used to play through the Gen 1 games every day. I don't know how we did it. Like we beat the game in a day. Do you remember? Like, that actually happened, didn't it? Or am I misremembering? Like, we actually beat that game every day.
I feel like it was not. I think it was every weekend.
I thought it was. I thought it was every day, but maybe.
I mean, can you solo run with Blastoise in one day?
Maybe. I'm pretty sure I soloed with Venusaur, which is where I was going with this. But yeah, Venusaur always been my favorite Gen 1 starter, and it's just one of my favorite starters all around, and it's my favorite grass type. Mega Venusaur is very good, very bulky, very strong too. Gets like Swords Dance. It can be offensive. Sleep Powder. Poison type is good now that fairies are around, and it's just, you know, all around good for Venusaur. RIP that it's not in Gen 8 games so far, so big S for Venusaur, but yeah, it is my favorite. How do you feel about Venusaur?
Well, what was since you mentioned so much about Gen 1, what was your moveset for Venusaur in Gen 1?
Oh lord, probably Razor Leaf. I don't remember. I probably had one or two status moves like Poison Powder, Sleep Powder, and then maybe like Strength. I don't know. Maybe Cut.
and not Solar Beam.
Maybe Solar Beam. I really don't.
I know Razor Leaf was always the move to have on your Venusaurs.
Yeah.
But beyond that, no, Venusaur is a boss. Love it. I prefer Mega Venusaur, one of the original like dual types, although back then all of the grass types except for Tangela were dual types. But yeah, it was pretty rad. It got less rad pretty quick, and then it got really cool with megas and fairies. That was an awesome time to reintroduce Venusaur to the universe, and I love it. I used a Mega Venusaur in one of the seasons that I did a league, and I was very, very happy with it. So I support that decision.
Okay. How about your honorable mentions for favorite grass type?
All right, well, I have two things to say for honorable mentions. So one that I need to mention is all of the other grass starters, because I am always team grass starter. I think outside of sometimes Gen 1, like every single game, I always go to the grass starters. They have always been my favorite. Every time I play Gen 2, it's always Chikorita, even though it's the worst thing to use. And with most of the other games, it's still always the grass types that I want to use. So I have to, represent my grass starters. And then my one other thing I'm mentioning for honorable mentions is Celebi. It may have like 900 weaknesses. Every type is a weakness for it, but it's just super cute and cool. And its movie was awesome, especially when it went like evil and became this giant monster thing. But it's been cool many other times too. I love using it. I did use it in my first ever draft league, the PBF, and I enjoyed it then. And I love Celebi. It's super cute. So what do you think about all the grass starters and about Celebi?
I like most of the grass starters as well. Like Venusaur is cool. Meganium is cool, but very underwhelming. Sceptile's cool. Torterra, alright, never really been my thing. Superior, alright, never really been my thing. Chestnut, cool. Decidueye, one of my favorite ghost types, one of my favorite grass types too. And of course the new grass starter is the one I picked and the one Ty picked, so definitely repping that. So yeah, I like most of the grass starters as well. As for Celebi, I like that too. Is this where I talk about my Gen 2 Celebes? My team of 6 Celebes with like Ancient Power, Giga Drain, all that? Or should we spare them that?
Oh no, now is where you talk about that.
Okay, in my Gen 2 Silver playthrough, I had a team consisting of Hacker and a bunch of other mons, and that team inexplicably got wiped somehow, so I had to rebuild my team. So I somehow got a Celebi that I didn't know existed. I'm pretty sure Pockety helped me there, and so I got it, and then I cloned it, so I had 6 Celebes in my party, and that was my team. So when I think about Silver, I think about the first era, which was Hacker era, and then post-Hacker era, which was 6 Celebes. So yeah.
Wait, you didn't finish the story though. So you had your team of 6 Celebes, but you got your mons up to level 100 by like fighting infinite things.
Oh.
Meaning you got all of the EVs.
Yeah. So
I got my mons to level 100 by cheating in rare candies and leveling them up, and I had no EVs. So we had a battle where I used
you had Entei, yep.
And it used like flamethrower or something and did like 2 damage, and your Celebi OHKO'd me with its ancient power. And then I was like, this is the most broken mon ever. And then you fought someone else who had a legit used Houndoom,
yeah,
and it just wrecked all of your team.
Yep, that's what happened. And like you said, the movie was cool too. I like the way that movie looks. It's very naturey, and Celebi is cool. The Elix Forest is a very cool place, and Celebi, it's just a very cool pixie. So I definitely understand why it's your favorite.
Well, it was just an honorable mention.
That's what I meant.
Who are your honorable mentions?
Okay, so first I have Virizion. That is my favorite among the Swords of Justice. I liked it the most when it came out, because like the other two I didn't really care about. It wasn't until years later that I knew the terror of the beast. Virizion was just the cool one in my opinion. I've grown to not like it as much competitively just because the others have either better moves or better stats in my opinion. So Virizion's kind of not as good competitively as the others, so I haven't really used it as much, but I still like it. It's still definitely my favorite of the Swords of Justice. As for my other honorable mention, I have Go-Goat. Go-Goat is the Go-Goat. I had to do it. Yeah, I recently used it in a playthrough of Pokemon Y, and I liked it. Before that playthrough, I never really cared about Goat. Like, when X and Y came out initially, I didn't really care about Go-Goat, but gave it a try, and I really liked it. And anything with Goat in the name gotta be good, so how do you feel about those two?
Virizion, I kind of expected that. I knew you like that. And, I remember you building the one to counter the beast, which did not work to the standards that you thought it would. But, Virizion's cool. And then, like you mentioned with that Sawana, Go-Goat is apparently the name of a Pokemon. I've never heard of it before. I do think you just made it up at the start of this video, and that it is not a real thing that exists, but you are basically working for Game Freak, and you can just invent Pokemon.
Okay. Well, we'll take it. With that, what do you have to say about the grass type overall?
The grass type, I feel, is it's unique. I think it's supposed to be like the more defensive of the three. Like, I think as far as starter types go, like fire is the offensive one, water is like the very middle one, and then grass is supposed to be more defensive, except it always has the most weaknesses. It does have like resistances too, but they're less common. But it also has like indirect things being defensive. It's not just like, oh, and then I'm going to hit you really hard. It doesn't have like Flare Blitz stuff. It's like more like, let me put you to sleep and then Leech Seed you, Giga Drain, so that I don't do a lot of damage, but I'm like healing up more. And, that's cool that it's, a different way of fighting. So what do you think about grass?
I never really thought about it like that, and I think you described it like very excellently. Like you mentioned about the stars, it's the most defensive of the three, while also being like having the most weaknesses, which is weird. Like that's kind of the way it was for rock types, and I think rock and grass have the most weaknesses in the game, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So yeah, that's RIP to both of those types. But I love grass type personally. I like nature. I like forests and plants and stuff. I would make forest my home and befriend a lot of grass types. I like a lot of grass types, and grass type, it's just always cool. And I like Ty said, I like the way it kind of heals itself, very like regenerating, and effects like that. A different way of fighting, nice way of putting it. So yeah, I like the grass type. And with that, I believe that is all we have to say about the grass type. So that will conclude episode 11 of the 12 days of Pokemon types, which means we only have one day remaining, and I hope you look forward to joining us for tomorrow's video. So, until that time, I'm Elogee.
I'm Pockety.
And we will see you then.